surviving Diddy's back. I mean, you put this into break it down for us. Break it down for us.
So there was an interview recently that came out where Usher spoke in
Would you
favor
like me to
of.
play the clip you sent me?
Sure, we can play it. Go ahead, roll that
Certain
beautiful
people are
theme to it.
prosecuted and maybe not recognized for the greatness, that they offer. I don't have anything negative to say about Sean Combs because my experience was not what the world has seen and how he's been, misrepresented. I'm not saying that every man is perfect. I'm not saying that all of us don't have flaws, but I can't, with any sense of humanity, not recognize the valuable contributions that this man made for us as Black entrepreneurs, for us as businessmen, for us as people who transition, culture and ideas into something that's tangible and becomes business. So many people benefited from what he created. And I acknowledge that. And that's why I see him as legacy.
Yeah. You told Shannon Sharp you learned a lot about business during that era.
Absolutely.
What'd you learn?
Puff was a mentor, but he was like you have that really, really hard teacher, but you're watching something in real time. I think that the idea of the level of discipline that came with that time in business, especially in an era that was trying to prove itself culturally in hip hop. Now, you can't turn on the television and not see the influence of hip hop.
That's right.
But the people who actually made that appropriate and are the forefathers are people like Sean Combs. And not just in the great times that they had musically, but in the idea of being able to find ways to monetize culture and create something that was not just Black or white. It was colorless. It was green. That's who I see that man as.
All right, now I'm continue.
Okay, so for those that are listening, one of the captions on that video said, "What made your mama go pretty much snatch you up from Puffy house all those years ago?" Which is a valid question, and there's always been conversation surrounding that. What's interesting in this conversation that this contradicts what he said in an interview with the BBC not too long ago, where he talks about him being at Daddy's house. That was what the boot camp was called, not my words. Um, and the interviewer asked, would Usher send his kids to be mentored under Puffy? And he said no. Am I making this up?
No.
So while yes, I'm not, and I cannot negate that certain things, two things can be true. This person could have taught you a lot about the business, and this person can also be an abuser. And I always share with you, when I first moved here, one of the first whispers that I heard of like industry gossip was about Puffy and his inappropriate behavior with this guy. Like I said, allegedly, we're going to use allegedly because I wasn't there. And it was something that consistently came up. Even certain things throughout my course of being out here in LA. So I find that really interesting that it is I can only speak from my experience, right? But we also know how abuse shows up where people protect their abusers.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know, I think it is, the timing is interesting of all of this, where we think it's like the dust is settled and the smoke clear. But to Albie Shore's point, I think that's really interesting that this does come up because there's supposed, an appeal for an early release that comes out. And so now you're trying to sway the public uh opinion of this person so they don't have to serve all this time and get an early release. What do you think?
I mean, you got Young Miami coming out too, saying that she basically still supporting him somewhat too.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where I think that people, and I can't say what Miami and Puffy's relationship is either or has been, because I think for her it's been extremely beneficial. especially with the breakup of the city girl. So he has been able to turn her into a brand and a commodity, where she's been able to generate. So I can see how her experience is different. You know, that's fair. That is fair. I'm not, everybody, I can't say that this happened to everybody, but it's still, the fact still remains. He was out here abusing people and drugging people without their knowledge. That's all. So I think it's interesting, but I think people have the right to free will and speak out and a free speech. But I would think this is how you know Usher mama she hasn't managed him in a while, actually.
Oh, and for a while, right?
Yeah, I say it's been a while, because Jonetta wouldn't have let him do that, because Usher is still a brand. And I think that people forget that. And so you um you kind of you forget that these people are human, but then it brings them to this human place, because just like how you have like Teddy Riley standing in solidarity with R. Kelly, it's like you're a brand, you're a business, like you still produce stuff, people still work with you and do all these things. So it's kind of like people looking at you funny. And somebody said that, oh, maybe this is because he trying to save face for the incident that allegedly happened at the gold party, where Justin Bieber and Usher apparently got into it. Now Usher said that it wasn't an argument at all. It was, excitement, but a lot of people said it looked more like a confrontation more than anything.
That
And
they was
so,
getting ready.
people have had whispers surrounding. So again, these are things we don't know. We're not there, so we cannot confirm things. And now until Justin Bieber speaks out and says otherwise, we won't know. But I think it's just really weird that you would come out and say this, and when you could have kept that behind closed door, because it's not our business.
Yeah, it's the diddler, man, is a funny thing, because I can see people still attaching themselves to him, like I said, but the smart ones won't do it in the front ground. But he's still gonna be able to maneuver and move around.
He'll be able to maneuver. He'll be fine. Like, I think it's one of those things, and that sounds crazy to say, but we see it all the time, where men are able to act as or move as if nothing happened. For women, it's not so easy for that, depending on the color, and sometimes on how egregious the situation may be. But I think it's really interesting that and as we've learned more and more about Usher, we have to question his brain cells anyway, because we hear that like half of confessions he didn't like. So, a lot of his hit singles he did not like.
But I can see how some people. I can see you. I won't discredit Usher just because he didn't like
I didn't discredit him. Thank God for L.A. Reid. Let's say that. Even though it's kind of his fault that he ended up at Usher house to begin
like
with.
L.A. Reid is a trepid situation in general.
I know, but it was the label forcing their hand to say this is what's going on there.
True. L.A. Reid has done just as much good as bad in music.
Absolutely, yes.
So I mean, I get you having your boys back. The main thing, the easiest thing to say. I mean, and he is correct with a lot of those things that Usher is talking about. When it comes to culture, he is, for hate or love, he has influenced it a lot. Now, I don't know in the last 10, 15 years how much he's been really influencing it. That's because he's the old nigga in the club, and he can't influence people that are older now.
Yeah.
Like first of all, it's harder to influence someone in their 50s to like go buy something in general. We just, at that point, most people at that age are, doing, crunching the numbers. They ain't just, what, Diddy drinking Ciroc, I'm drinking Ciroc.
It depends. I think it depends on the
Because
where
most
that
time, by the time you're in your 50s, you got your drink. Like I don't think
yeah,
no
but
new
you know
people are getting
what?
the
Think about when Ciroc came out.
But he was in his 40s then. Ciroc came out, he was. But I'm talking
Oh yeah,
about
it was
any new brands.
old.
If he kicked off a new brand, if he did not get jammed up, I don't know. And people have been like, "Yo, I'm gonna go drink that new Diddy drink."
But I know, but I think that's I'm sorry, I'm gonna push back there.
Okay.
I'm gonna give him a little more credit than that because I cannot negate the Diddy, the impacts. I cannot take that from him.
No. I'm saying that
I think about even in our age, though, like we know there's people getting sponsorship for parties, but I know old head niggas that was drinking Ciroc, that had Ciroc in their house. Because
Oh
black people,
no.
because there's the thing, they couldn't say it, they would call it Ciroc. So that's how because you know somebody that has said that. So I'm not gonna take that from them. I cannot, in the words of the great Jocelyn Hernandez, I cannot. So I won't do that to him, right? I'll be fair. I'm being fair. Let's not play like put him down like that.
Yeah.
So and think about people, just even Sean John as a brand. Let's remove all the chaos, like the everything surrounding how he was able to penetrate fashion in that way. You might not have wore it, but we know niggas that was wearing them velour suits.
Oh no.
And
I ain't no hate. That velour sweatsuit was the bomb.
Yeah. So I really think that he's gonna have what's gonna happen is it's gonna be something else that come on the market. He will be an angel investor in something,
Yep.
and you won't know that. He will. That's what it will be, and then people will start digging, and then they'll be like, "Oh, Sean Combs is," and niggas is not.
And he's gonna be able to rebuild himself on the back end off
Yeah.
of it. Like, oh yeah, I helped out this black-owned business get his stuff going, and then then he all up in your videos. He all up in everything. So then you jammed up then because he all up in your stuff.
Because like even think about even Ciroc before the whole thing happened. Like you had Ashanti in ads and all of that. So it wasn't like it was out of touch because like niggas still love Ashanti. You knew who you needed to pull in to still keep it relevant and relatable. So it's not just like people in Argent, like they were like you had Nicole Murphy in one of your what's that Hennessy? No, it was Nicole Murphy.
Yeah.
So you pull in from all, which is smart. So I can't hate. I cannot take that from him, but I can just not agree with what happens in his bedroom. Like I don't think you need to be drugging people.
Yeah, no, that's as they say, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Or whatnot. So
yeah, drugging and beating and attacking people. That's not my fuck with shit like that. So we shall see, but that's interesting. Like I'm just saying, I'm just questioning Usher's judgment. Hey y'all, if you like what you see here on Everyone Needs an Aquarius, be sure to hit that button right there. It'll take you to more clips, and be sure to like, subscribe, and share our podcast. See you back next time.